All right, welcome back. In our last session, we put together the legal skeleton of your school. Well, now it's time to give that skeleton a home. We're diving headfirst into step 2, land and building. This is where your vision starts to become a physical reality you can actually see and walk through. So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about why this step is so incredibly important. Then, we'll get into the fun stuff, how to pick that perfect location. After that, we'll navigate the rules and regulations for different boards, and we'll wrap it all up with a final checklist to make sure you've got all your bases covered.
Okay, before we even think about pulling out maps or looking at blueprints, we need to talk about the why. Seriously, understanding the huge impact of your land and building choices, well, that's the absolute foundation of this whole process. It really does set the stage for everything else.
Now, just a quick but super critical reminder here. You can't even start step 2 without having step 1 completely locked down. That trust society or Section 8 company you formed, that's the legal entity that's actually going to own or lease the land. Without it, you're at a standstill. It's the signature you need for pretty much every document from this point on. Here's what you've got to understand. The piece of land you choose isn't just a patch of dirt. It basically decides the entire destiny of your school. It's going to affect whether you get approved by boards like CBSE or Cambridge. It sets a hard cap on how many students you can enroll, and it determines if you have any room to grow down the Rhine. It's everything. You know what's so interesting is that a school's location becomes a huge part of its identity. You're not just searching for an empty lot. You are truly searching for the perfect ecosystem for learning. So what does that ideal ecosystem actually look like? Come on, let's break it down. So, what are the golden rules when you're out there scouting for a location? Well, first off, accessibility is everything. We're talking safe roads for buses, easy drop-offs for parents. The surroundings have to be safe, so far away from noisy factories or any high-risk areas. And you've got to think long-term, right? Is there room to add a new building or a bigger playground in a few years? And of course, a clean, low-pollution environment, that's not just a nice-to-have, it's totally essential. And hey, knowing what to avoid is just as important as knowing what to look for. The big red flags? Super congested areas. They're just a logistical nightmare. Any plan that involves putting classrooms in a basement? Absolutely not. And any property that doesn't have plenty of open space for kids to run around. These aren't just small issues, they're deal breakers. All right, so you found a location that looks promising. Great. The next thing you got to do is overlay a whole new set of rules onto that map, the specific requirements from your chosen education board, and just as important, your local government. This is where we really get into the nitty-gritty details.
It's actually fascinating to see how different philosophies show up in these requirements. You've got a board like CBSE, which is very specific, right? They'll say you need about 2,000 square meters in a big city. But then you look at international boards like Cambridge or IB, and they're less about the exact numbers and more about the quality of the space. Do you have the right labs, library, and play areas to provide a great education? That's what they care about. Okay, but listen up, because this is the golden rule that beats everything else. Local law is king. I don't care what the Education Board's guidelines say. Your state and your city's regulations, that's the final word. If they say you need a certain amount of land or a specific safety feature, that is the standard you have to meet. End of story, period.
Now, moving from the land to the actual building, there's a whole checklist of non-negotiables. First, it has to be a permanent or pucca structure. Inside, you need to be thinking wide corridors, lots of natural light and good ventilation, and, of course, separate clean toilets for boys and girls. Ramps aren't optional, they're essential. And you absolutely must have all your fire and disaster safety approvals in place. Every single one of these rules is there for a reason: to keep kids safe. You know, your building plan needs to be more than just a bunch of rooms. It needs to be a map for learning. That means you've got your classrooms, a library for quiet study, labs for hands-on science, and of course, a playground or an activity room where kids can just be kids. Every single space has a crucial role to play. All right, we are officially in the home stretch now. You've found the land, you've designed the building. This last part is all about getting the official stamps of approval that turn your blueprint into a real legal school. Now, this part is critical. Before you even start filling out an application for affiliation with a board, you need to collect these government approvals. You need a building safety certificate, a fire safety certificate, a sanitation certificate, and, crucially, a land use approval that officially zones your property for educational purposes. Think of these as the 4 pillars holding up your entire project. So let's just put it all together in one simple checklist. Step 1, get your legal entity sorted. Step 2, pick a safe location with room to grow. Step 3, make sure you've got enough land. Step 4, design the building with all the safety rules in mind. And finally, step 5, get all those government approvals. Follow these steps in this order, and you are building your school on a rock-solid foundation.
So, your land is secure and your building plans are approved. The blueprint is officially complete. But a building is just an empty shell, right? The real magic happens inside. Join us next time for step 3, where we're going to bring that building to life. We'll talk infrastructure, classroom layouts, and all the essential equipment you'll need. See you then.